Hi, I'm Kim Alexis with your ticket to adventure. A trip to jolly old England begins with a visit to a modern-day baron, whose home really is his castle. From a motorized tram, you can check out the offerings, including his own automobile collection. Then we'll soak up to Bath, a city founded over 2,000 years ago with the discovery of its magical healing waters.
I feel sometimes it's like Indianapolis.
But it's not, because this is central London, where you'll want to look both ways first, or
you're gonna get run over.
Then we'll hail a cab to find out about one of London's most respected occupations and what it takes to get behind the wheel.
There's nobody better than a London cab driver.
And one-stop shopping at Harrods, where shoppers reign. All on Ticket to Adventure. London. It's the world's most popular city, where people relive history, experience the atmosphere of Piccadilly Circus, and stroll through Hyde Park. And then there's the royal family that captures the world's attention. The Queen in Buckingham Palace may be off limits to visitors, but Liz Miles meets one royal aristocrat who's more than happy to welcome commoners into his castle.
Edward John Barrington Douglas Scott Montagu, 3rd Baron Montagu of Bewley, descendant of King Charles II. He is a 59-year-old, twice-married father of 3 who preserves his ancestors' way of life and makes a tidy profit by opening his home and castle to the public 364 days a year.
We're open every day of the year, except Christmas Day, between 10 and 6.
Bewley is much more than a tourist attraction. It's more of a tourist industry. It's a movie set, for a fee, for films like A Man for All Seasons. It could be the closest thing England has to Disneyland. And after being in the Montagu family for over 400 years, the current Lord Montagu has made some necessary improvements. Like the bright green monorail that shuttles visitors through the grounds, past restaurants and souvenir shops, 10 acres of parking lots, and the ruins of a 13th century abbey that once occupied this land. As the brochures are quick to point out, Bewley has something for everyone.
Well, first of all, there's my home, Palace House, where I live here with my family, which was originally the great gatehouse of a 13th century monastery, founded by King John in 1204. We've always lived here. It's not a large house compared to the Wobens and Blenheims, but it is a very cozy house.
Only 6 of the 80 rooms of the house are open to the public. Tourists enter through what was once the front hall and are greeted by pictures of Lord Montagu's ancestors. His grandfather was the 1st Baron of Bewley. That title was conferred upon him by Queen Victoria in 1885. The estate itself has been in the family since 1538.
What is the life of a modern-day baron like?
Well, it depends what your particular job is. You must remember there's about 1,000 members of the House of Lords, and then every profession you can think of, from probably just running a large estate down to being a television reporter or a dentist or a bookmaker or whatever. There's actually no reason, because you have a title, you particularly have money or have any particular influence. I mean, the days when the aristocracy were a privileged group of people has long past gone.
But evidence of that privileged existence of the past is being carefully preserved.
What is not generally understood is these great houses were opened sometimes from the 18th century onwards. It was always the custom to allow people to come round these houses. However, in those days it was the servants rather than the owners who benefited by ways of tips and so on. It's only since the war that the owners have thrown themselves into opening their houses to the public for their own sake, or should we say, for the house's sake, because after all, nobody actually prefers to have thousands of strangers pouring round one's home every morning.
But those same strangers also support another of Bewley's attractions, the National Motor Museum, which is one of the largest collections of antique cars in the world. Lord Montagu built it on the grounds as a tribute to his father.
Historically, this is probably one of the most interesting cars in the museum. It's 1899 Daimler, And you see it portraying my father with King Edward VII, because he took him for his very first motor ride in this actual car.
And it still runs today?
Still
you
runs
drive
today, yes. And in fact, I took Prince Charles on a ride in his car 70 years after that famous drive with his great-great-grandfather.
Lord Montagu's favorite car is this 1909 Silver Ghost Rolls-Royce, which bears his family crest and which he drives often. A modern-day baron in an antique car, living in an ancestral palace. All of these are symbols of earlier eras. This is a man destined to grapple with the past and the present, a man committed to preserving his heritage at the expense of his privacy, a man for whom the end justifies the means.
So this is a very good solution. We share our houses. We firmly believe that these great houses, which were built for the pleasure of a few, should now be enjoyed by the many, and they are enjoyed by the many from all over the world.
Beaulieu is not the only regal residence that the public can visit. England has over 100 stately homes that welcome thousands of tourists every year. Coming up on Ticket to Adventure, testing the waters at England's first health spa. England is definitely a country rich in history, but there's no place that's as historically intriguing as Bath. Each year, almost 1 million tourists visit this ancient city on the Avon River for its picturesque setting, its impressive architecture, and for its water. Natural hot springs that some believe have magical healing powers. Sue Dolan travels to Europe's first spa, where the one-time medieval resort is a modern-day tourist attraction.
Being here from the United States, I came to Bath to visit the ancient Roman baths and to see what they were like.
It's one, the architecture, then the ancient relics of the Romans that are here and are well kept.
I've heard it was beautiful, and indeed it is.
People from all walks of life and all parts of the world journey 100 miles west of London to take a trip back in time. They've come to beautiful Bath, a city founded nearly 2,000 years ago by the Romans. This peaceful valley, surrounded by rolling hills, was a perfect setting for the Romans to build their vacation empire. They created buildings that were so unique and so advanced for their time that architecture students today still study how the buildings were constructed. But beneath all of the visible beauty lies another example of astounding architecture, one of the world's first health spas. We all know how popular health spas are back in the United States. People will pay hundreds of dollars to rejuvenate themselves. Well, ever since the 1st century AD, folks from all walks of life have come free to experience Bath's magical healing waters. From a natural spring 3 miles below the Earth's surface, 1/4 million gallons a day heat up and bubble out of the ground. It was this spring that brought the Romans here centuries ago. At 116 degrees Fahrenheit and loaded with 40 different minerals, this magical spring supposedly had healing powers over old age and diseases like leprosy. So naturally, their great bath became the center of their lives, a sacred place to bathe, swim, and relax. History's first health spa. But with time, the Romans left the area and the baths were abandoned. It was not until the late 1800s that excavations began uncovering these Roman remains. And today, archaeologists continue exploring for more signs of a past civilization. And while thousands of tourists are satisfied to just marvel at this ancient spa, some pay a small fee to have a taste of the mineral water from the pump room.
Doesn't smell good, but it tastes okay. This is good for you, huh? Cheers. Drink some more.
But can people still slip into this pool and do as the Romans did centuries ago? Well, Bath curator Stephen Bird says a few have accidentally, but more may be taking the plunge in the future.
There are now plans to open up Bath again as a spa. In Europe, 8 million people a year take spa holidays. That's 1 million more than take skiing holidays. That's big business, and the city of Bath wants to try and attract some of that over here.
So if the baths reopen, visitors will once again be able to experience what brought the Romans here centuries ago. But even if people don't actually get a chance to relax in these waters, the power of the hot springs will continue to draw visitors who can soak up the atmosphere of the ancient Romans.
Next on Ticket to Adventure, crossing London's busy intersections could be hazardous to your health.